Hi, I'm Samuel Jamier, the director of the New York Asian Film Festival, and I'm here today with Kate Heidelman.
Kate Heidelman.
We'll be speaking about Korean music, and we have, in the context of an upcoming event we have, it's our first event at Alice Study Hall. We'll have a film concert, basically a screening of a new film called KOKDU, A Story of Guardian Angels, directed by Kim Tae-young, who's probably best known for his horror classic, Memento Mori, from a while ago now. He's directed this very complex piece that mixes cinema, theater, and Korean traditional music.
So Gugak, right?
Yes,
okay.
I think the generic term is Gugak.
What can people kind of expect with this music and maybe with some of the acting? Do we know? You mentioned that there's a 23-piece.
22.
22 piece.
So we're flying
orchestra?
22 musicians, 22 musicians coming all the way from the National Gugak Center, which is the institution that's officially in charge of preserving the traditional performing arts of Korea. So they'll be coming here for a one-day only performance on June 29th. It's basically a live score, but it's traditional music, but it's also literally, it covers a wide spectrum of traditional Korean music and performing arts. It's, I would say, there's sort of a commonality throughout the centuries in Korean traditional music between the high and the low. You basically have the court music, the proper, what they call chonggak, or proper music, which is all about the repression of sentiment. You're supposed to achieve a higher realm of ideas. It's very philosophical in a way, with a particularly slow type of music. And you have the music of the common folks. It's more joyous. It's very basically based on the spontaneous expression of sentiments. Quite unique also and specific to Korea. I mean, for a long time, Korean music was confused with other types of East Asian music, with China and Japan. It was first actually introduced into the West in 1884. So relatively late at the time, it was just basically dumped in a corner. It's like, oh, this is sort of like Chinese music. And then later on, it's like, well, it's a sub-form of Japanese music. Why? Because at the time, Korea was a Japanese colony.
Right.
I think one of the, to understand what Korean music is about, well, obviously you should come watch the event, because it covers a wide spectrum of genre of traditional Korean music, Korean traditional music. But there's a famous Japanese musicologist called Tanabe Hisao, who described the genre quite well and what Korean music is about. And one of the one of the adjectives that recur very often is solemn. There's the impression of the first, I would say, learned observers was a sense of solemnity, because specifically if you listen to court music, it's quite slow. It gives an impression of majesty, and you have a completely different conception of music and tempo. I mean, in Western music, you have a lot of people would say that the idea of a tempo is based on the heartbeat, whereas Korean music, and I would say to an extent Chinese and Japanese music, are more based on the pace of breathing.
It is a very different conception of
very
tempo.
Different concept of tempo.
And I know that there are different terms that I'm not going to try to pronounce for kind of these different feelings of tempo, ranging from what we would think of as like very slow, solemn to very fast. And my impression is that it's kind of based on less a rigid tempo and more of a kind of rhythmic pattern or sort of feeling that is repeated.
I think feeling is really at the core of Korean music. The term in general of Korean culture, like the notion of kibun, your mood or your feeling, your emotion dictates a lot of the things you do in life. So yeah, it's, as you pointed out, it's a much more flexible concept of rhythm. That comes also with an idea that silence takes a large amount of space, let's say, in the current conception of music. to an extent that you don't find in Western music, which is filled with extra notes. You have the concept of ornamentation, and the idea which is joking about the appoggiatura, right? You add extra notes to bring a different color, embellishments, and so on. That is completely foreign to what Korean music is.
Yeah.
Instead, you're going to introduce long breaks that makes you ponder about the meaning of the sound, maybe, or you leave them resonate with you for a long time.
I mean, of the traditional music that I've heard, I also feel like there is probably a more flexible sense of pitch compared to a Western orchestra, that it's not necessarily as important that an instrument be at a particular pitch.
Right.
It's not the point.
But fundamentally, I think improvisation takes a much bigger space in the performance.
Right.
Music is notated, is preserved, and so on, but you don't have this sort of absolute rules that you kind of have to stick to, I think, in the performance, and in a way you see the concept of form, a musical form, maybe is quite different in Korean music.
And that's something that, one of the things that struck me the most when I was beginning to learn about this music was, and I think is really helpful for people when they're kind of calibrating their expectations for what to hear. One of the things we talked about was the kind of approach to time that I think that people can expect to, I think from a Western perspective, it might be, we might describe it as more sort of contemplative, with all of this space and kind of ability to sort of rest with the sounds and be with the sounds.
I was explaining earlier about the duality of Korean music between the high and the low, the court music and the music of the common people. You have this duality in the first place in the film. You have to an extent the court music that is very solemn, that sort of brings this sense of awe in a way. It has this aspiration, mystical aspiration almost, and at the same time you have this very joyful improvisational music, the music of the farmers, that you hear inside the film itself. The filmed stage pieces include a lot of the traditional folkloric dancing, which are rapidly paced, fast-paced musical pieces, also largely improvised. It's a very complete introductory piece to traditional Korean culture. You see these very colorful costumes that you wear for these performances as well. Okay, so this is going to be on June 29th at Alice Study Hall, and you are welcome to join.
Yes, you should. This is
whole family.
Yeah, it's going to be good for all ages. Not
it's
scary, even though it's about death.
Yeah, absolutely. Once in a lifetime opportunity to experience something unique, sounds from a culture that's halfway around the world, and a great movie to watch on top of that.
Yeah, and speaking just from the perspective of a musician, having live music with a filmed piece is just generally a very rare experience. I've done it once. It's very stressful for the musicians, or it can be, and it's quite a thing to pull off. So I'm really excited to see it because it's difficult to do, and so it doesn't happen very often.
Absolutely,
yeah.
It's a unique chance.